Hey, everybody, welcome to Don't Worry
Hi.
Wednesday. This is the show that we do on Wednesday, and it's all about you
That's right.
guys. Yes, yes, you guys are amazing. We love you guys. And yeah, this show is about you guys and anything that you might be going through in your lives, any challenges or issues or struggles that might be going on. We are not professional therapists or counselors, and we're not a substitute for that, but we do just want to be your friend. We want to offer any perspective and love and, any type of good feeling along the way. Because you can make it.
That's
You
right.
can. And we just want to step alongside you and go through it. So it'll be good. But anyway, yeah, if you want to submit a topic, you can go to our website, don'tworrywednesday.com. You can click the submit a topic button, and the little thing will slide over, and then you can fill out your topic. You don't have to put your name. If you leave that blank, you'll just be anonymous, and that'd be fine. And we won't even know who you are. In the past, we used to, take messages from you guys, and we would ask you if you wanted to be anonymous, so we would know who you were. But now we don't even know.
That's right.
Not even us know, unless you tell us. You
Right.
know. So yeah, but yep, and make sure, as it says in there, make sure that you answer yes to being a human, and use uppercase letters for DWW, so that way we can be sure to have it in the queue. But once again, that website is don'tworrywednesday.com, and Princess actually has a link there, right there in the chat for you. So that'd be awesome. So
hmm
yeah, welcome. How are you guys doing today? How you doing, Ryan?
Fantastic. How you doing, man?
Wonderful. You wouldn't even believe it. Um,
Awesome.
yes. With us is Ryan. He's above me. He goes by Static P. You can see in his little name bar there. And also running our show behind the scenes, and also our chat room hostess is Princess. Princess is here. How you doing, Princess?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for asking.
Awesome.
Fabulous.
You're welcome. And I'm Joe. That's me.
Down
I,
there?
I get to be the host. I'm bottom bunk
He's the
guy.
good one.
Yep. Wait. No.
You agreed.
I'm on the bottom bunk in the appropriate location. It's okay.
All right. The good one. Yep. That
So
excites me. I liked
awesome.
actually what you opened up with, a sentiment you said, and I was like, yeah, that's actually really perfect. Something a way we haven't opened up before, or a sentence we haven't used in our openings before. But it's sort of like, we're here to walk alongside with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how you phrased it, but yeah,
Walk
we're here.
alongside you as friends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, if we're here to walk alongside them through their problems, that's kind of what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not necessarily there in person with them walking through the problems, but we can kind of go through like the theories and the hypotheticals with them, and just kind of walk down that road with them and say, all right, now you can do it, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Now do it without us. And then come back next Wednesday and tell us about it.
Well, yeah. Well, honestly, that's what friends do, right? Friends will walk alongside you through an issue. Whether you're talking to them on the
Mhm.
phone or you're chatting with them in chatting with them in a VC, which is kind of like talking on the phone, or in DMs or whatever. We just wanna be friends. We want to help you. We want to do whatever we can and basically help you understand that you're not alone. Because
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes when you're in the middle of some massive stuff, you can feel so alone, and it can be really hard
Yeah.
and debilitating and crazy, and I totally understand. So we want to, at least for this little short bit of time we have on Wednesdays, we want to be there with you. And also, you can, I think Princess put it in the chat, maybe she didn't, she has hers in there, she has her Discord thing in there. You can also reach out to me. I'm pleb. I'm number something 6922, I think. Maybe
6992.
6992. I knew it had nines and twos and sixes.
Ah,
I have this available for when you guys bring it up, but
Oh,
awesome.
otherwise I don't
And
want it to be confused with if they need assistance.
gotcha. Yes, if you
and
need
of course you can reach out to
assistance,
me as well.
yes, that's Static P 4545. Yours is easy to
I
remember.
got really lucky, by the way. A lot of people think that I bought that one, but I just got it just by random generation. I got 4545. Really lucky.
Yeah. I think Princess is easy to remember too. 7101. I could remember that one pretty easily. But yeah, so feel free to reach out. You can reach out to us on DMs, whatever. We'd be happy to hear from you. So anyway, what do you say we get started?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sounds like a plan, huh?
Do it. Yeah, sounds like a good plan.
All right, Stan Dick P.
Stan Dick P. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, all right. I could have, yeah. There were other things that came into my mind, and I was like, probably bad idea. Anyway, here's a list of names. I'm going to go through a list of names, and you guys can let us know if you're here. Some of you we've already seen here in the chat, and but I'm going to just kind of do a little bit of a roll call here just to see who's here. We have Ash, Meow, Shark Jelly, Toby, Saule, Warspite, Vanderwood, August, Kel's Kitchen, Fredneck, and Kishin Slayer. And if you heard your name, let us know you're here. Kat, yes, you are here. So happy you're here. You're amazing.
That's right. Me too.
Mm-hmm. And Ash, you even did the dab. Oh, I'm so happy. You know what? Respect the dab. Yeah. I know it's not even cool to do anymore. I dabbed in front of my kids the other day. They looked at me like I was an idiot.
Really? Dabbing wasn't cool to begin with.
Oh, it was cool to them for a while.
Well, whatever. It hasn't changed. It's still the same exact maneuver.
It is still the same exact maneuver, but everybody was doing it for a while. I remember when we were doing martial arts, that was like the thing. Everybody was dabbing and doing the floss. Now none of those things exist.
Yeah. Everything has their phase, I guess.
Yep, that's very true. Everything comes and it goes. But anyway, all right. Well, you know what? Ash, I see you're here, and yours was the first one on the list there, so we're going to go ahead and do yours first. This is called Am I Dependent for Happiness? And I will get it up here on the screen. And as soon as I do that, then, then you guys can read along while Princess reads it aloud. So, Princess, whenever you're ready.
Lately, I've been feeling extremely tired. My energy seems to be non existent. My friends have noticed this change in me and have started asking me what's wrong, why I haven't been talking as much, why I've been ignoring them. I haven't been trying to, I just haven't had any energy lately. Recently, about a week ago, my boyfriend, who lives about 260 miles away, came to visit. And that week, I was back to my happy self. I got my energy back, my happiness, and for once, I didn't feel tired. I felt alive. But inevitably, he had to go back home, and my world came crashing down again. I'm even more tired and feeling like all the energy in me is left with him. I've tried so hard not to depend on him for my happiness. I know that it's not healthy, and I know that it's not right. I don't feel like I'm depending on him for it, but every time we talk on the phone, my happiness returns. Am I depending on him to be happy? Or is it just mere coincidence that when I talk to him, I'm okay again? In my previous topic, you guys said that my body could just be recuperating from past stressful situations. I've been doing what you guys told me to do, eating more, drinking more, just being a bit silent each day, and it seems to have only gotten worse. Right now, I feel like I haven't slept in a few days, even though I've been getting between 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. And I'm even showing some signs of sleep deprivation. What exactly could this mean? Do you guys know what exactly is happening? I'm sorry if this is a bit all over the place, but I appreciate you guys helping me out. Love you guys. From Ash.
Well, thank you so much for the topic, Ash. And I'm sorry to hear that you're handling some things that are challenging here and some lack of energy and maybe feeling maybe not depression, but disappointment and just maybe down and feeling like you're crashing. That can definitely be the case. I mean, sometimes if we really do love someone, it could be a significant other like your boyfriend like that, or it could just be a close friend, and sometimes just being around them makes us feel better, makes us feel energized, and it's great. And then when they're not around, we just don't quite feel as good. That's kind of natural at times. One of the keys, though, is to also figure out how to be good, just as yourself as well. And sometimes that can take some introspection and some figuring some things out, and maybe some talking to a therapist. Another thing that might possibly be happening, I know that I've talked to my therapist about great many things, and there have been multiple times where my therapist is like, "Yeah, I want you to go get some blood work done because we want to check and make sure all your chemicals are okay. Like all your, hormonal levels, your, all the different things. I want to make sure all that's lined up right because then we can at least, if that's an issue, we can target that and fix it. And then we don't have to go through, a whole bunch of other stuff to try and get to the root of the problem. So that's also a possibility. But like we said at the beginning of the show, we're not therapists. We're not counselors. One of the best things you can do if this continues to be a problem is maybe make an appointment to see some kind of a counselor or a therapist, and then maybe you could get to the bottom of some of this if it continues. But I'm going to do the best thing I possibly can, and I'm going to get out of Ryan's way and let him take a whack at this because this is one gentleman who's exceptionally wise, and I think he'll have some really great things to say. So, Ryan,
Thanks, Joe.
take it away.
Awesome. I love you, Joe. You're awesome.
I love you too.
Awesome. I have a victory. I did it. I win. So Ash, thank you so much for sharing this with us. And thank you also for taking us seriously and trying out the different things we've recommended. Of course, like Joe said, we aren't psychologists, psychiatrists, or anything along those lines. All we can do is give you suggestions and do our best to give you our best and help you along your way. Again, I would stress that don't be upset or worked up with yourself because this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to, I mean, it's okay to get a little worried about yourself, and I think it's important to. It's okay to do that, and I understand that in the past you said that your parents kind of declined you going to a therapist because they weren't taking you seriously, or you're worried that that would be the case. Of course, I would recommend trying again. No shame in doing that. No harm in doing that. But the thing is, like, I don't want you to get into a position where you beat yourself up more than you need to. It's okay to be kind of stagnant sometimes and recognize that, hey, you know what? This is something that a lot of us go through. And that includes me. Sometimes just have my downtimes where it's just like, I don't really want to do anything. And nothing really brings me much excitement. And there isn't much wonder in the world that I am called to or pulled towards. And that's okay. For me, that I get a lot of my happiness and peace in those moments through prayer, and through just kind of allowing myself to be a help to God wherever He needs me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's just to remain silent and experience what I'm experiencing. I mean, we've said this many times in the show, but suffering is a beautiful thing. And this is a form of suffering too, right?
Mm.
When you're in life, there's a sense of like we want to do things, and doing things makes us happy. There's a sense of joy when you feel alive, right? You feel alive, you know that feeling. Like that's the feeling you get when you're with your boyfriend, for example. You feel alive, right? But in this life, even just nothing, when we don't have anything to cling to or have anything to bring us joy, it can be a form of suffering. That lacking sort of experience can feel like suffering. and it can feel like something's wrong with us, or that, yeah, something's wrong with us, and that's okay. Like I said before, it's it's important to recognize that suffering brings about a lot of great things, even if we don't recognize them. As long as we go through that suffering with intentional goodness in our hearts, right?
Mm.
Um, you can go through suffering and become the most just complainingest kind of person that just even to have envy where you want other people to suffer just because you suffered.
Mm.
And that's not good, right?
Right.
But you can go through suffering and appreciate the world even though you can't feel that appreciation. It's important to recognize that our emotions, right, aren't something that can be controlled. They're responsive, right? And so when you feel happiness as a response to your boyfriend, that's natural and good. And then when you're without him, you don't feel that happiness, right? But again, feelings are just feelings. They aren't true reflections of reality. They're just how we feel about reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're about how, or even how we feel about something that doesn't exist. Like sometimes we have fears, and that makes us scared and anxious and not feel good, even though those things that we're afraid of never even happened. They're not real, right? I mean, I think a lot of us experienced, going into our room when we were children, and it was dark, and we're like, "Oh no, there's like a monster, an alligator, or whatever under our bed. I gotta hop into bed real quick and then cover up and hope that the monster doesn't come out." Right? We make all this stuff up in our head and get afraid of the dark for no reason, right? No, there's no one there, but we freak out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So our emotions aren't something that we should rely on, but they're still important, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're still important. We want to feel happy, right? But the thing is, we can't always feel happy. Um, I swear, oh geez, I
Oh my.
I swear I thought I saw my dead cat sitting in my closet one night. I mean, it's possible, but that's creepy. Um, he was white, so okay, so it's easy to see. Yeah, when I turned on the light, nothing was there. Fair enough. A ghost of him. I mean, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I mean, I have no. I mean, I believe in ghosts. I mean, I'm Catholic, so we recognize that ghosts are a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but yeah. Anyways, um, the point is, in all of this, and a lot of this, is that don't don't make it worse than it is. Basically,
Mm.
don't make it worse than it is. Right? Happiness is a feeling that we experience, but so is a lot of things. So is being afraid, or so is being anxious, so is getting excited or feeling sad. It's an experience that relates to our what we're thinking about or what we are noticing in the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one of the things that I might recommend is how much time are you spending, especially if you're being silent, how much time are you spending being thankful for what's around you? Um, if you can be more thankful about the things that are in your life, what will happen is you're going to train your mind to notice more things that will excite you. Train your mind to notice more things that make you happy and glad to be alive, right? So train yourself to be more thankful. And you can only do that by being thankful, by spending time with a conscious effort thinking about, I like that this happens. I like this about the world. I like this about my life. I'm thankful for this, that, the other thing. And think about those things and dwell on them. And do that every once in a while, hopefully once a day. Um, I think that is one of the best ways to sort of get out of a funk like this.
Mm.
It could be more than just a funk, but this can be something that helps. Um, Down another track. Joe talked about getting your blood checked, and we had mentioned last time, make sure you're eating the right things or getting
Mm.
enough to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I might recommend. It depends on how old you are. Um, if you're Ash, oh geez. Um,
I think I saw
I
I think I saw Ash said there were 2 more years of high school left.
2 more years of high school.
I think if I
So
remember in the chat correctly, because Baka was
okay, I
talking
was
about
just yeah.
graduating, and then Ash was like,
So I was gonna say 16, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah. Okay. So Ash, you're at the age 16, which means that you're, according to the average of science, done with growing. So I'm going to recommend you could try something, but obviously I have to say this with a notion of please contact your doctor and ask if this is okay and this is right for you.
right.
So just keep that in mind. Um, there is something called fasting. And a lot of things, a lot of religions do it, but it's not just a religious thing. There's, if you, here's the thing, a lot of scientific studies have been done on fasting. And once you reach, I know this is a bit much. I think a lot of people would be afraid of this. Keep in mind that you can go without eating for a long time.
hmm
And by a long time, depending on your body weight, there are people who have gone without eating for 200 plus years or 200 plus days.
200 plus years, man. Everybody
Yeah,
goes
200
at
plus,
least 200 plus years after they're dead.
yeah,
Like
years. Yeah, after you're dead, you starve fasting real
you
hard.
fast real good at that point, man.
Yeah,
Tell you what.
yeah. Mhm. 200 plus days, but obviously I would never recommend something like that. Um, but that's just to point out that it's not as scary as people make it out to be. People freak out. You haven't eaten in 3 days. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, scientifically speaking.
Mm.
Um, so as
Depending
long
on
as you are, depending on your body, depending on
there are
if you're getting any,
factors.
yeah, there are factors in all of this, right?
hmm
But here's the thing. Here's what I want to point out. Um, I'm sure you've heard about keto diets, and ketosis, all of these things. Well, something that's important that happens during a fast, people find that after about the fourth day, especially by the seventh day, um, and onward, what you experience is a heightened level of um, brain activity that produces the ability more so for joy and happiness, as well as better work ethics, and things like this. Why is this? This is because when you stop eating, you stop providing yourself with, in some ways, you stop providing yourself with that notion of, what do I say? You stop entertaining yourself, I should say. You stop entertaining yourself in meaningless ways. Because a lot of the food that you eat is pointless.
Mm.
You're literally, you're just getting rid of it. Like if you eat 3 times a day, you're absorbing some of the nutrients of the meal you just ate, some of the carbs, and then flushing most of it. Especially that last meal you ate, you flush most of that away. It wasn't done digesting, it wasn't done, but you can flush it away and get new stuff. And some things take longer to digest and get in, like to fully digest, to absorb. So a lot of times, like let's say you eat a salad in the morning, salad takes a long time to break down. You can let that sit in there for 24 hours and it might not be broken down all the way,
Mm.
right? And instead, what you do is you eat a salad, and 4 hours later, it's just started to digest. You feel hungry because that's what your body's been trained to do, and then you eat again. So you get rid of some of this. After a couple days, it's hard at first, but after a couple of days, you get rid of the you find your hunger levels go down as your keto levels increase, your workflow, productivity, and state of mind, your just overall happiness increase. Um, so there's been a lot of science done on it. There's a lot of science done on keto and keto diets. You don't necessarily have to fast to enter ketosis, but it's the best route. Um, and I'm not going to, again, I'm just telling you about the science. I'm telling you about what's been discovered and that it is been known to be very effective and provides a lot in the terms of mental health, to enter a fast every once in a while. Um, that said, obviously, I'm not in the position where I'm allowed to recommend it because I'm not a licensed nutritionist,
hmm
or anything along those lines.
Yeah, and it's
So,
subjective too.
and it's subjective, and it's something you have to yeah, it's something that someone would have to look over you and say, yeah, you could probably get away with that. But I think that most people in the world wouldn't even allow you to, just because I think that our culture is so ingrained with eating 3 times a day
Mm,
that to question it is sort of like taboo.
mm,
But will just kind of remind you that in the ancient world, for example, when the Romans were running about, they ate 1 time a day, just once. And they said for health, they found that the Romans said for health benefits, they found eating 1 time a day is best.
mm,
And that was the norm for them. Um, the Jewish people ate 2 times a day, the same era.
mm,
Um, and so it's not really that scary. And people have been fasting, and I mean, I have never heard of a person dying from fasting. I've heard people dying from starvation, but that's
mm-hmm,
different. You don't, that's a very different thing, right? Starvation is, I mean, and people survive being starving for incredibly long times, but it
mm,
isn't healthy. It
mm-hmm,
isn't healthy, right?
mm-hmm,
Um, yeah. So, anyways, my point is, fasting can do a lot for you if you, especially in like what happens is the first couple days you might feel drained of energy, but by like the fourth day, fifth day, um, coming around, your keto
ketones.
ketones, thank you. Your ketones
Mm-hmm,
spike, your brain energy is enhanced, you feel not hungry anymore, you feel energetic and lively, and you can get a lot done, and it feels good. And I think that brain chemicals are kind of tricky thing that when you just eat and eat and eat for your whole life, I think it's easy to throw them out of balance because we're also meant to fast. We're
mm-hmm,
also actually created with not like humans. You think about the earliest societies of humans, like try to think about cavemen and stuff like that. They didn't have a meal every day. They had a meal when they could get one. Their
mm-hmm,
bodies were designed to survive several days on one meal
mm-hmm,
and then hopefully get a big feast, kill something they can eat for a couple of days, and then they go a couple of days without eating again, right? Like you kill a boar, you have a meal for like your whole family for a couple of days. Then it might be a couple of days again before you get another boar, and that was or enough forest to gather berries in, things like that. So and people are nomadic, so they're always moving about, always walking, always hunting, gathering, etc. So if people survived in that time and that's kind of what we were built from, um I think it would make sense that our bodies are meant to fast here and there. So anyways, I'm gonna kind of get away from all that, because again, that's not something that I can legally recommend. Um, just some interesting things you can look into and decide for yourself whether you might want to try it or not. Um, and I would again recommend looking into it and figure out if you want to try it for yourself. I can tell you my personal experiences, and Joe can tell you his, and that's about that.
mm,
Um, but we can't recommend it, so
right,
for legal reasons.
right.
But anyways, I'm gonna give it over to Joe and see what he's got to add to all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And thanks for talking about fasting a little bit. Ash, I see you said in the chat. I don't really know if I can afford that. I'm already really underweight, LMAO, and so
So am I.
yeah, so
I weigh 108 pounds, and I fasted, and it was still about the same.
the, there are a lot of things to think about when you're gonna go into a fast. I mean, if this is something that you're interested in looking into, you can DM one of us. I have a
Mm,
lot of resources on fasting. I did a lot of studying before I actually did a fast. It was really interesting though because a lot like what Ryan was talking about. I did notice that heightened energy level, and in fact, on day 4 of a fast, I had my best my best martial arts test ever. My best highest
mm,
score in a martial arts test was I hadn't eaten for 4 days, and
yeah.
and so it's an interesting thing, but one of the things to think about fasting, you don't have to, it doesn't even necessarily have to be food that you're fasting from. It can be video games. It can be movies. It can be something that is good in your life that you find is a good thing, and you just deny yourself that good for
That's
a
true.
time. And what that does, that self-denial, when you can train yourself to deny yourself something that you like, that's now here's the thing. If it's something that's bad for you and you're training yourself to not do it, then you shouldn't do it anyway because it's bad for you, right? but if it's something that's
Yeah.
benign or if it's good for you or whatever, and you deny yourself something for a time, that can be really beneficial because what it does is it gives you a higher level of self-confidence in saying, I can tell myself no. I have self-control, right? I can regulate myself. And it doesn't have to be for long periods of time even. Ryan talked about on a previous show about how he would eat half of a sandwich and then he would set the sandwich down in sight of himself so he could see it. And so he'd be looking at it and then just not eat it. He would deny himself eating the sandwich, even though he wanted it, even though he knew it was going to be good, even though all that stuff, right? But he denied himself. And that discipline can carry over into, an increase in self-image, an increase in, confidence and all these things, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be like, hey, you're going to not eat food for an extended period of time. It could just be, hey, you know what? I'm not going to eat snacks. I'm not going to play video games from the hours of 5 to 9. It could be, I really want to go to the movies and I generally go to the movies and I don't, and I'm just going to tell myself no. It's that process of self-denial that can have one of the greatest impacts on that, right? Now, the fasting from food, there are physiological, things in your body that can create more energy, like Ryan was talking about with the ketones and everything. But before you go into any of that, if I would definitely talk to a doctor, I would definitely talk to a therapist. If you're suffering from low energy levels and you can't figure out why, then there's a good chance you might want to talk to somebody, a professional that can help you unpack some of this stuff, right? Because sometimes it's just the world around us. Now, some of this, it sounds like from your topic, Ash, that some of this is psychological. That some of this is in your mind and maybe in your heart too. Like you have increased energy when you're around your boyfriend. And you have decreased energy when you're not. And so some of that could be, there could be an attachment there. There could be some kind, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be an unhealthy attachment. But what I would question here, Ash, what I'd ask you to do is, where does your mind go? Monitor your thoughts. We are humans, in the animal kingdom, we are unique because we can actually take a step outside of ourselves and analyze ourselves. We can analyze our thought processes and everything like that, right? Now, sometimes it's really difficult, especially when we're in the thick of crazy stuff going on, right? And you just got high stress and things flying at you a mile a minute and just everything's going crazy. It can be really tough to step outside and think, I'm going to analyze my thoughts right now, because you're just trying to deal with everything coming at you. But if you can, just keep track of what you think about. Do you spend a lot of time thinking about your boyfriend? If so, it's probably natural that when you're not in communication with him, that you're going to feel less energetic. You're going to feel a little less happy, because maybe you're thinking about him all the time. And hey, you know what? That's kind of normal when we're in a relationship with somebody. We think about him. And, so then when we're not in communication with them, or when we're not with them, it can cause us to want to be talking to them or want to be with them, and that can cause a sadness in us, and stuff like that. So one of the things I've had to train myself to do is, really think about where my mind is going. What am I thinking about? Am I thinking about something all the time? Am I obsessing about something all the time? And sometimes it can be healthy to keep like a goal in your mind, or some kind of thing you're trying to achieve, to keep that in front of you all the time, because it might energize you, right? And so that's something you could also do. Is there something that gets you excited? And I mean, obviously, I would imagine your boyfriend gets you excited, right? I mean, because you're already experiencing this, you have higher energy when he's around, less energy when he's not. So, but if there's something something other than your boyfriend that you can think about, like a goal, something you want to do, maybe a dream for your life, maybe something like that, if you can spend thought time there, you might just be able to charge yourself up. Because where our mind goes, like Ryan talked about, our emotions are fleeting. They are a response to our thoughts in a lot of times, right? Or they're a response to things that happen to us, right? There's lots of different emotions. There's, happiness, there's sadness. He went through the whole gamut of them. There's anger. And it's an interesting thing. I had to do a lot of studying about anger. And like anger is just a heightened readiness to take action. That's all it is. Most people think anger is aggression, like aggressiveness, like being mean and being angry and shouting and violent and all this kind of stuff. That's what anger is to them. No, that's not anger. That's aggression, right? Aggression is a response to anger that some people choose. Anger is just that heightened sense of the ability to take action. That's all it is. And when you can recognize that emotion, that's all that emotion is. We think about happiness. It's a general good feeling. It's a well-being. It's a heightened, how do you even describe it? It's happiness, right? What's sadness? It's kind of like a down, a lower, and we will run through all these emotions, sometimes multiple times per day. We'll have happy moments and sad moments and excited moments and angry moments, and all kinds of stuff will happen based on what's going on around us, based on what we're thinking about. And so if you're finding yourself, it could be the situations you're in. It could be that I saw you in the chat. You're a junior. You're going to be a junior starting in September. If you're anything like me, I basically had senioritis starting like my sophomore year of high school. I was ready to be done with high school in 10th grade. And so I was not happy to be at school. What's that?
I took you that long.
What? Well,
I was ready to be done with school when I got into 2nd grade.
Yeah, that's true. But that's just, I mean, I'm
kidding.
talking like the burning.
I'm still excited for school.
Hey, cool. So anyway, part of it could be the stuff going on around you in your life. If there's stuff going on that's stressful or hard or whatever, maybe that's something to think about. But yeah, it could be all kinds of things. But if you're noticing it that it's still an issue for a long period of time, I would definitely make an appointment to talk to somebody about it, and then maybe they can guide you in a direction. Talk to a counselor or something, and then maybe they can offer you some insight. They might recommend, hey, go see a doctor, get your, do a blood panel, so they can check your hormonal levels and all that kind of stuff, because there might be something going on chemically that can be fixed fairly easily, right? And it could be a change in diet. It could be a medication. It could be, there's all kinds of ways that we can do this. Let's see. I know you've said some stuff in the chat here, Ash. Wait, there's a bunch of stuff. Okay. We used to have a lot of late night conversations, and then we'd stay up all night talking to each other. So my mind starts to think about him a lot at night when I go to bed, since I miss those the late night talks that you had. A lot of times I'll try to distract myself by thinking about role play ideas. That usually takes my mind off of everything for a while. That's awesome. So, I mean, if you're already kind of doing this, that's great. If you can do it more, that's even better. One of the things that I do is I'll sit down at my drums and I'll play, because I can just get lost. Earlier today, it was really windy out, so I sat outside and I looked at the wind blowing in the trees. Now you can't actually see the wind. The wind is invisible, right? But you can see the effect the wind has on the things that it's blowing against, right? And so I'm watching the trees move as a result of the wind blowing on them. And I was just I was having this moment of, I had to just focus on that. And it helped to kind of clear some of the fog. It helped kind of, bring a little bit of peace. Some of those things can be really helpful. And I see you said you're spending time in silence, Ash, and that's awesome. When you're spending time in silence, are you actively emptying your mind? Because that is really helpful as well. If you can focus on your breathing, you're breathing in through your nose, and maybe you can count to 5 with each inhale, and breathe out. I was just reading a book today. And they were talking about a breathing exercise, and they said, basically think like you have 2 sets of lungs. You have a set of lungs that's down at your belly, and a set of lungs that's at your chest. And so when you breathe in just with your belly, because that's your diaphragm, right? Your diaphragm. So breathe in, and then finish the breath with your chest. So what you'll do is you put your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly, and you feel your belly go out as you breathe in. And then you complete the breath, the inhale, by your chest coming out and up a little bit, right? And then just relax. Don't blow it out, but just let it out. Just let it go out, right? And if you can focus on just your breathing, you put all that thought and attention into your breathing. Anytime a thought scampers into your mind about some stressful situation or something that you obsess about or something else, just say, thank you. You're dismissed. And get back to focused on your breathing. And stay there. Just stay centered there for a few minutes. It doesn't even have to be that long. Just even a minute. And that can be super duper beneficial. So anyway, I don't know. Hopefully some of that helped. I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan. I've already talked for a long time, so I apologize. But Ryan,
Okay.
did you have anything else you wanted to talk about on this topic?
Sure, just a little bit. I think you had a lot of great things. One thing that you were kind of going towards was, Ash, it could just be as you think it is. Maybe, um, maybe you are relying on your boyfriend for your happiness, and it's possible. Um, and so, how do you get away from that? I would say that it's possible that you feel the way you do, like down all the time until he shows up, sort of thing. Um, that's like a sort of what I would call obsessive recoil. Um, when your mind has ups and downs, right? If you drink alcohol, it's a downer. Um, ultimately, right? Or you do drugs. There's a lot of drugs that will be uppers, and then once they wear off, they're downers. And that's
Mm-hmm.
true with a lot of things that we have with emotions. One of the reasons we cry is because a cry is an expressive form of sadness, which once it's over with, we feel relief, right? It's still upset once it's done, but sort of the way that the mechanism works. And similarly, if you got these super high highs with obsession, when the target of your obsession is no longer graspable, it'll give you those super low lows, you know? So that could be what's going on. Don't know. But it could be. But I would say, how do you get away from that if that is if that is the case. If that is the case where you might feel um, like your happiness, like you're deciding your happiness is dependent upon this other person. Um, I would say, again, I would, of course, I would preface this with going back to try to be thankful, but also being happy is a form of satisfaction, right? And Joe and I both now talked about it. Emotions are a response, right? Your happiness is a response to how satisfied you are, right? Here's one thing I would recommend. What are you doing, Ash, now? What are you doing that makes you proud of who you are? Or what way of thinking do you have that makes you proud of who you are? Be it ideas that you come up with, ways that you view things, your perspectives, the actions that you take, the way you tolerate people or interact with people in general. What sort of things are you proud of about being you? If you can, and you said probably the thing that makes me the proudest is singing or playing the piano. Awesome. Awesome. Then I would say continue to do those things and continue to search for within yourself the things that make you satisfied with who you are, satisfied with where you are. Your knowledge about Genshin, nothing wrong with that. Nice, nice.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think that if you allow those things to make you proud and don't shy away from that, allow those things and allow yourself to be satisfied with who you are, happiness is going to be a lot easier to attain regardless of whatever's going on. If you wake up in the morning and you're like, I have no reason to get out of bed. I'm just bored. Everything's blasé. I'm not happy. I'm not excited about anything. That's okay. It's normal. Most people in the world start their days that way, and then they have to go to work, so they have to get out of bed.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
When you're in a position where you aren't necessarily forced to the moment you wake up to get out of bed, a lot of people will just go, okay, I've got nothing, so I'm gonna go back to bed until I have something I have to wake up for, or else I get in trouble. Um, I would say while you're in bed and you have those thoughts of like, oh, there's nothing to get up out of bed for. I'll just lay here and think about my boyfriend and cuddle this pillow or whatever you're doing. Um, I would highly recommend. I would highly recommend n- stop doing that.
Mm.
Instead, get out of bed and find something to do. Okay? Don't lay around in bed waiting for your brain to come up with something to do that excites you to make you happy in the morning. When you wake up and you feel that pressure of, oh yeah, there's nothing that makes me happy right now. There's no excitement in me. I have no wonder about something that will pull me out of bed right now. As soon as you have that thought, recognize that as soon as you get out of bed, that thought will start to fade. Go find something to find joy in. And if you can't, go for a walk. Go for a walk. It's summer. It's a great time to be alive. Way better time to be alive than winter. It
No,
is
it's not.
summer.
I
Get
wholeheartedly
out there and go for.
disagree.
Have you ever even experienced the pain of cold?
Not in the same way you have.
Yeah, I know. So, for me, and for everybody who agrees
I've
with me,
experienced the pain of heat though.
pain doesn't bring heat. Or sorry,
You're
heat
right.
doesn't bring
Heat
pain.
brings pain, not the other way around. Well,
Pain does
actually
actually
pain
bring
does
heat.
it
Pain
does. You're
does cause
right.
inflammation. Yeah,
Yep.
pain does bring heat. Heat doesn't bring pain. No, it can. Obviously, if something is too hot. But you can. Oh, bless you. You can. Sorry, I was blessing Princess. You can. You can go outside, take a walk. You say, I would go. I would love to go for a walk, but I am a teenage girl, and my mom doesn't want me walking outside by myself. Can you walk around the house? Go walk around the house, pick up a rock, look at it.
If you have a yard, can you walk around your yard?
Yeah. Hey, can you walk around to your yard? If you live in an apartment, can you walk down the hall and back? I don't know. There's so much things to look at and find interest in. And I recognize those things are small and maybe uninteresting to you. But what happens is this. If you embrace boredom, right? That's our tagline, remember? What is it? Embrace boredom. Is that what it was? I know obviously embrace the awkward, but what was the boredom one? Do you remember? No, that's fine.
Was it
Um
pursue boredom?
pursue boredom, that's what it was. Yeah.
Oh, that.
When
Sorry.
you are when you pursue boredom, right? I think for me a lot of times, and I think for a lot of people, that's walking. Like you're not really doing anything when you're walking except for walking and looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything to interact with or to create or to process. But what happens? Your mind starts processing anyways. You start looking about and thinking anyways. If you pursue boredom, I think that it creates a mind which can get excited about a lot more things. So, silence, very good. Pursue boredom, very good. Be thankful, very good. See a therapist, very good. Uh, don't hang out in bed thinking about your boyfriend when you wake up. And uh, maybe perhaps look into fasting, but it doesn't have to be food. Anything that can create self control, anything that makes you proud. These are all things that I can recommend. Doesn't mean that I can guarantee that they will help. They're just ideas and things that I've noticed make a difference in my life. Um, I think ultimately, though, all of my happiness and satisfaction with the world comes from two things. One, Ash, this is important. One, I make that choice for myself.
Hmm.
The first one is I'm recognize that I'm capable of making that choice for myself of whether I'm satisfied or not, if I'm happy or not, right? I can make that choice. I can make the choice of whether I have energy or not. I can make that choice because the likelihood is I have the energy, I'm just not feeling the desire to spend it, right? But the thing is, I can make that choice to use it. I can make that choice to look at the world in a positive way or a negative way. So the first thing that I would say is ultimately what makes me a happy person in general is because I want to be and I choose that path in every way that I can. And I get that that's hard, but that's why Joe recommended fasting in the way that he did, self-control. Because you get to make that choice, but are you strong enough to make that choice? You are. If you start making that choice, you recognize you have the strength. The second thing that I would say makes me happy, or rather, another way to phrase it, the second thing that makes me decide whether I'm satisfied with the world or not is my religion. I believe in God. I love God. I love what He's made. And God will make all bad things good and new for those who love Him. And it's not like, oh, you love me, therefore I give you good things. That's not the way that sentence is made. That sentence is, it's good because you love me. If you didn't love me, you would consider these things to be bad.
Hmm.
That's the way that sentence works. Um, and so I subscribe to that. And so I see God in the world. I see God around me, and I feel satisfied because I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. Here, where God put me. Am I doing the things I should be doing all the time? Maybe not. But I know God is always doing the things He should be doing. And I can rely on Him. And so I'm very satisfied with everything He's given me. So that's the other reason that I'm happy. Because I'm satisfied with all the things that I have. And I'm satisfied when things are taken away from me. Because ultimately, I know one day I'll die.
Hmm.
And those things won't matter. But what I do on this earth matters. right? And God is working through me. So that's it. I mean, for me, it's God and my attitude. So that's that. I mean, that's like the best advice I can give you. And I don't know if that will ultimately help, but it's my recommendation of what works best for me. Joe, I'm gonna give it back over to you.
Um, yeah, I don't know if I have much else. I think that's a great place to end it. Ash, hey, we're pulling for you. I hope that you can get to the bottom of this, and yeah, hopefully some of that is
Yep.
helpful for you, and you're able to take it and think about it, and work through it, and you know figure out how to get through this low energy that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, thank you so much, Ash, for the topic. You are amazing, and we love seeing you here on the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're so awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for always being here with us. Love you,
Mm-hmm.
Ash.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we love you. So yeah, thank you. And yeah. All right. Let's move on. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, cool. So, all right. I'm going to go back through the list of names again cuz it's fun and I like it. And I like
I
to see
like you.
dabs in the chat.
That's right.
So I'm going to say Ash because I know Ash will dab. Even though there's not another topic from Ash. Oh, August. Yeah, you're awesome. All right. So we have topics from Meow, Shark Jelly, Toby, Saule, Warspite, Vanderwood, August, Kel's Kitchen, Fredneck,
Nick.
and Kishin Slayer.
Fredneck is also here, I believe.
Yep, and I see Meow too.
Okay.
So I think that's probably the earliest one we have here. What's up with your mama dat in the chat? And a dab.
What's up with your mom in the chat?
Dude, you're
Nice.
awesome.
Nailed it. Nailed it, Saule.
Yes. All right. Well, let's say we do. Yeah. Oh, wow. We got all kinds of people here. Let's see how many
Yeah, we
we
got a
can
lot of
get
people
through.
here.
What do you
It's great.
say? What do you say?
What do we say? What?
Let's see how many we can do.
Oh, okay. Well, we started out real slow, so let's see how many we can do.
All right. All right. Well, the first one on the list comes from Mialado. This is called
Meow.
Describing the Abstract. And so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and get this topic up on the screen for you guys so then Princess can read it aloud. And Princess, whenever you are ready.
This is a topic that I had drafted a little while ago, but I thought I'd go ahead and submit it. I feel like it would be an interesting one to discuss. It is often hard to find the words. Although that can be the words for talking or writing, the most difficult is the words in your thoughts. This weird, wide world is filled with so many wondrous things, and also complex and confusing things, and even some wondrously confusing, complex things.
Nice.
Your senses allow you to experience things and have ways to describe them. But what about the things that you can't experience through your senses? How do you describe the abstract concepts and ideas, things like emotions? How do you study these things in order to better understand them? I hope this makes at least a little sense. Feel free to go whatever direction you want with this. Thanks. Meow.
Thank you, Meow. We will definitely go in a direction. I'm not exactly sure which one. I kind of wish Kyle was here because he was like the Mr. Math guy, and so he got to do all that abstract mathematics stuff, you know?
That's true.
Actually, did we do this one with Kyle?
Mm-mm.
Or did I just want to do it with Kyle?
It would be likely that you wanted to do it with Kyle.
Do you want to wait
We
till
didn't do
next
this one.
week? Kyle will be here next week, probably.
Really? You won't be here?
No, there's a baseball game.
Did you call baseball yet and tell them to just stop?
I did not, actually.
Okay. Someone please call baseball.
You guys can do the topic. No problems with that.
Right
Yes,
on.
the
Yes.
entirety of the sport. All of it. Just call baseball and say, please, just stop already.
You
Just
know,
stop.
hey, my son's into it. I'm going to go watch him play because I love him.
Yeah. No, it's actually, it can be fun. It can be fun to swing the bat or pitch. or
It's
run.
funny. It's like
Those are fun things.
it's the last game of the season, at least the last scheduled game of the season. They have some makeups that they might do, but
Mm-hmm.
but this is the last scheduled game of the season, and it's when he finally gets the splint off his thumb
Oh,
because he broke his
poor
thumb.
guy.
He broke his thumb like right at
Poor
the end of the
guy.
school year, and so like he's been out there, but they've been short. It's funny they've been short a few players recently, and so he's been out there playing because it's his right hand that the thumb is broken, and so he has his glove on his left hand, and so he'll be out in the outfield, and he'll get the ball, and then he'll have to put the ball in his right hand, and then take his glove off, and then try and throw it with his left hand, and he's not.
Oh my.
Like the kid's a beast, man. I'll
Oh
tell you what, it's
my.
incredible, and he's been pinch running too. So they've had him out there on the field playing, which is nice,
Ah,
even
good,
though
good, good.
he's technically not supposed to be playing.
Ah, okay.
You know, but anyway, this
Okay.
topic is not baseball. This topic is about abstract stuff. Describing the abstract. It's interesting because where my mind immediately went when I was first listening to Princess read this was the differences in languages and how
Mm.
hard it can be to translate things from one language to another. I'm a quite avid reader of scripture, right? Of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And that mostly was written the Old Testament was mostly written in Hebrew, and then they translated it into Aramaic, and then it got translated into Greek, and then most of the New Testament was written in Greek, and then it got translated into Latin, and then from Latin it got translated into all kinds of languages, and English is one of them. And one of the things, because I've listened to all kinds of commentaries on all kinds of things, and people who have translated, they've had to be like these language experts, because you can't just go word for word, because sometimes there isn't a word for what they're describing, right? Sometimes there's no English word for the Aramaic word or the Hebrew word or whatever, right? And so they're trying to get across the idea, but they don't have the word for it. And
Mm-hmm.
so they just got to come as close as possible, and they got to use all kinds of words and formulate some kind of phrase or sentence to describe what they meant in this one word in this old language. It's just crazy to think about, because and we in English, our language is just a hodgepodge of all kinds of languages kind of mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that you said, Ryan? The weird ones are always derived from French.
Yeah. If they have a really ridiculous spelling, that shouldn't be a thing. It's usually French.
It's usually from French, right? Yes, which, I find French to be a very beautiful language. Sounds gorgeous. I find Latin to be a very beautiful language. It sounds gorgeous, right? I speak English, and English has all kinds of weird accents and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so then there are times when I'll be talking to someone, and I will have some kind of a feeling, and I'll be like, look, I can't describe in words what I'm feeling, but this is as close as I can get. And so then I'll spell out, a whole bunch of stuff, right? Because sometimes, like there are mixtures of emotions. I know you touched on emotions and stuff in there. But so sometimes, how do you describe that stuff? It takes combinations, and you try and mix things together, and you try and get your idea across, and fail miserably. But I am looking forward to hearing what Ryan has to say, because, yeah, I just want to.
All right.
I'm gonna
Because
give
I
it to
wanted
you.
to.
Because you're amazing, Ryan.
Thank you.
Mm.
Language is tough, and I see that you say, Meow, that you are planning on starting to learn Japanese, and that'll be hard. Yeah, that will be hard. Um, but doesn't mean it's impossible. Um, I have experienced a lot of help with this sort of thing it's kind of interesting looking at the etymology of words. When we're trying to describe abstract things, um, we find very interesting things like different feelings or words, and we look at the etymology and we're like, oh, that's those two words put together from a different language. It's like, oh, those two concepts turn into this word. I can see that. That's true. Or you find a word and or rather you can look into philosophy, and the philosophical world has to describe a lot of abstract things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for example, the word wisdom versus the word intelligence
Mm-hmm.
or smart,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, bright or brilliant. These are all synonyms, but they all mean different things. Smart and wise, or intelligent and wise, they are not the same thing. They're not even different fields of study. One can say, "Oh, I'm intelligent." Oh, in what field? You can't say wisdom. That's not an accurate statement. So how do you describe wisdom? Well, it's a hard word to describe. It's an abstract thing. It's a good understanding or knowledge, if you will, about how to navigate life in the best way, right? Which is abstract in itself because everybody's life is different, but you have rules and core finding rules. And then you look at it and go, okay, that's weird. Why do we have these rules? Where do they come from? It seems so abstract. Like, I mean, it's just a strange thing. So I find that in philosophy, a lot of people have to spend time creating these definitions and understanding feelings like emotions, understanding abstract concepts, including math. A lot of the early mathematicians were also philosophers. Um, and I think that if you want to have a good way to define these words, the more knowledgeable you can be in philosophy and in general, the more likely you'll be able or capable of describing your feelings in a more concrete way, abstract to concrete. But here's the battle. We're humans, and we're living in an unknown world with unknown rules, experiencing things we don't understand, and we're trying to come up with ways to define them, to relate them to another person. Um, that's very difficult. It's very difficult for everybody. When you are your own person and you can only feel what you feel, and you try to relate that to someone else so that they can understand what you feel, doesn't mean that they will feel it, but they'll at least be able to comprehend it. I think a lot of times the best way to do it is through story.
Mm.
Stories have a way of conveying a message that is beyond the the words you would use to describe the message, right? When we think about stories, I mean, oh my gosh, I heard a wonderful story recently. The I don't know if you've ever seen La Miserable, what is that called? La Mis
Les Mis.
Les Miserables.
Yeah, okay, Les Miserables. Whatever. However you want to French it up. Um because I can't. I can go croissant. Anyways, I can do that sound. But anyways, um, in that story, there's a character Jean Valjean, and he is a criminal, right? And he's been put in jail for like years and years and years and years, and he's lived his whole life since he was a child in jail. So how has he's grown up his whole life with criminals, and so his view of the world is mostly just hate.
Mm.
And he hates everything. He hates the world, he hates people, and he gets out of jail And he's like, I've got a mission. I'm going to ruin the world. I mean, it's already something I hate. So I'm going to hate it physically. I'm going to exact my vengeance on the world. I will kill people. I will steal from people. I will do terrible things because the thing is, the world has done terrible things to me. So now it's time for payback. And one of the first people he runs into um, is a bishop, a priest, a bishop, and he takes him into his house. And he knows. The bishop looks at him and goes, "Yeah, you were a prisoner. You're wearing that thing on your on your outfit that says, yeah, I am a criminal. I've got a bad record." And no one, he can't get any jobs because of this, but this guy takes him in, and he he gives him food. He gives him a place to sleep, and they go to bed. And the bishop wakes up next morning. The guy's gone, and he's stolen all of his silverware and probably some other things too. And the police catch him, and the police bring him back to the bishop and say, "Hey, uh, look, this person stole your stuff, but he's saying that you let him have all of this. He's saying that, yeah, you allowed him to take all of your silverware because you have no silverware left in your house, right?" He said that, you know? And the bishop goes, "Yes, he's my brother. Oh, also, you forgot my most expensive thing." And he hands him, I forget what the object is, but it's something that's been passed down generations after generation, and it belongs to him and his family. And it has like a significant meaning, and he gives it to the robber, the stealer, the thief. And then I don't know exactly how the story goes, but the policemen allow it. He walks away. And Jean Valjean walks away a changed man. Right? That story, there's so much in it. There's many abstract ideas. There's abstract things in it and that we can't it's hard to explain what's going on in people's hearts. But by their actions in the story, we go, wow, that person, the way that they acted, the way that they think, um, you see it. You see it for yourself in the story when you watch it. You see what kind of person they are, and you see the abstract in their heart, the abstract of their mind, and what makes them who they are and the way that they think about the world. And it's incredible. So I think that there's a lot of different things that are abstract, and one of the best ways to describe them, if you don't have a good mind for words, is through story. Because story is what touches people's hearts anyways, a lot of times. Stories get through to people, and they relay messages deeper beyond just words. They relay feelings, they stir up emotions within the person, right? There are some stories that you're going to hear in your life and they're going to make you cry or want to cry. And that's how you accurately really convey a message or convey anything in a way that touches the person. It touches them in such a way that it communicates to their heart without having to describe all of the different sensations. You give them that sensation in their heart. And that's kind of like how I think might be the best way to do it. But anyways, that's the best I've got. Getting it over to you, Joe.
Well, alrighty then. I'm kind of with you, Ryan. It's interesting as describing the abstract can mean a lot of things. Feelings, it can mean, things that are the way the world is that we don't have words for. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can go into like the universe and, the way things work together. And sometimes we just can't describe them. And I love what Ryan was getting at and saying, maybe dig into philosophy a little bit. And if you're going to dig into philosophy, I would start with the Stoics. They had a really good grasp on actual natural law and how people are, because people are still people. People have been people since the beginning of people. We just have more things now
That's
than,
right.
but we've always been people. And human nature has been human nature since the beginning. Okay? So, and the Stoics really had a lock on this. As I study Stoicism, and it's great because, it really kind of goes really well with Catholicism, and I'm a Catholic, right? So, even though the Stoics weren't Catholics, Stoicism came along before the Catholic Church, right? But, a lot of the worldview is quite similar, at least as far as humans work. And so if you're going to look into Stoics, I would look into Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was oh man, he's my favorite. I've listened to these guys on Audible, right? Now I haven't listened to them actually talk because they were like, Marcus Aurelius is what? He died in the year 180, right? And his predecessor was Seneca. Oh, actually, no. His predecessor was Epictetus. Actually, they were kind of contemporaries. He died in 135 A.D. Seneca was born in 4 B.C. and lived until 65 A.D. Right, and so so Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, these guys, they're Stoic philosophers. You can also dig into Plato. You can dig into, now I don't mean Play-Doh, like the stuff you played with as a kid. Plato.
Dig into it. Yeah, you could actually literally dig into that.
Right, exactly. Plato. And who was the other guy? Socrates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ancient Greek
Yeah, classic.
philosophy. Like these guys, no, they just had a way of describing how the world is, how people are, how life works, right? And they weren't religious, but they just were observant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's great is that, in Catholicism, there's no, I mean, in Catholicism, what the concern with a lot of times is morality and morals and faith and stuff like that, right? But also recognizing that we live in a natural world where nature needs to be accounted for. And it's funny, like a lot of people think science and religion are often, fighting each other, but in Catholicism that is absolutely not the case at all. Science goes hand in hand with religion in Catholicism. In fact, most of the earliest scientific discoveries that we find so beneficial now were discovered by Catholic priests that were scientists also. But they were observing the natural law, right? And they were observing how nature worked. And, they understood that that is part of God's creation and there's a way that it works. And if there's something that we find in Scripture that goes against what we see in the natural world, we're probably interpreting the Scripture incorrectly. Because we can see that this is the way this is, right? And so, it's been a continuing theme, right? Throughout Catholic history. And it's beautiful because that way, now, I remember before I was Catholic, there was like this, there was all this beating heads against science. And it's like, well, the Bible says this and science says this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. If science readily observes something the way that it is in front of us, then, we're probably not reading the Bible right. Right? So, because the Bible's not a science textbook. It's a book about faith. It's a book about morals. It's a book about all of that stuff, right? So anyway, I don't know why I got off onto all that. It had to do with Stoic philosophy, and then I got into Catholicism, whatever. Here's another thing. Art. Any of the arts. They can express things that words cannot. Have you ever listened to a symphony? Maybe not. I don't know. I was a music major in college, so I got the chance to listen to a lot of symphonies. My favorite composer is Gustav Mahler, Mahler, and I believe his Fifth Symphony is my favorite. And I'll tell you what, there's Mahler, there's Dvorak, there's all kinds of these composers that have done such great, great, moving things. And the thing is, listening to a symphony is a commitment, right? Because there's usually about like 4 or 5 movements, and it takes about an hour. And so you're going to be listening to this music for this whole time. But what it's going to do is it's going to take your emotions and your heart and your soul, it's going to take you on a ride. There's no words at all. Well, sometimes, but that wouldn't be a symphony. It'd be a chorale usually, I think. But, um, but like just instrumental music, just the sound, vibrations, the way we hear vibrations and how they're put together and all this kind of stuff, right? It can take us places in the abstract, and it can take us places that words cannot even describe. Visual art can do the same thing. Sometimes people get a lot out of visual art. Sometimes people get nothing out of visual art, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced both. Dance, interpretive dance, different kinds of dance. I married a dancer, so obviously I got into dance. I got to see different dance performances. And there were times when like there was some kind of really beautiful, I never really got into ballet a whole lot, but lyrical and modern and stuff like that, where an interpretive dance where they tell a story and they give impressions through body movement and through choreographed group body movement, and you get all this flood of ideas and emotion through watching it. It's an amazing thing. So defining the abstract, describing the abstract, you can dig into philosophy, dig into the arts. That's where I would go. And you're going to enter a whole new world. You will enter a world that you didn't even know exists, and it's all within you. And it'll take you places. It's really, really cool. Now, it doesn't necessarily always describe the way the universe works. It's not maybe necessarily going to give you any, grand knowledge or something like that. But it could deepen your emotions. And it could make you feel in ways that you haven't felt. And really abstract is what? The stuff that's not really defined anyway, right? Stuff that doesn't have like a specific definition.
Not tangible.
Right. Yes. Not tangible. Thank you.
Intangible.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the right word.
So I would go there. I would go to different things like that. And if you can find things, I would encourage you, if you're looking into the arts, I would encourage you to find art without words. Whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether it's visual art. Find stuff without words and see what you experience by either looking at it, watching it, listening to it. And it can be pretty amazing. It can take you in some pretty cool places. So, I don't know. I don't really have much else. So, I'm going to leave it at that. Ryan, did you have anything else?
No, did Princess have anything she wanted to add?
I have a few things.
Hmm.
Some of it is actually trying to describe the abstract because we have the abstract and we can experience it, and that's wonderful. And and there are many times where you don't need to describe the abstract to really engage with it. But there are times where you've engaged with the abstract. You've been to an art gallery. You've done this. You've done that. You've had that moment, and then you want to explain it to somebody, and you won't do it justice. That's like the
Mm-hmm.
first thing to know is that you probably aren't going to do it justice. unless you like have it for them to literally experience. But many of these things aren't replicatable, and even if they do, your experience is going to be different than my experience. Even if we look at the same piece of art, even if we
Mm.
have the same sounds coming around us to give us that, every experience is slightly different. And so it's kind of where it comes into poetry. Is kind of what I kind of get.
Mm.
Poetry is usually a
Mhm.
great way of taking the abstract and turning it into something more concrete.
Mhm.
And then it goes right back to being abstract again. It's kind of one of those it's like going through an hourglass, you have
Mm.
all the sand up here, all the abstractness, then it gets that singular little point where the grain falls through, has that concrete moment, and then it goes right back into a pool of abstractness.
Mm.
And I've
That's sweet.
just
That's sweet.
described an abstract idea and used more concrete terms that you can
Mhm.
imagine,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
So, a lot of it is we're blessed with many languages, that some languages are better than others at describing certain things. That's
Mhm.
why I know many people who are multilingual, either bilingual, trilingual, quadlingual, however many, they'll actually have conversations if they have someone else who knows the same languages as
Mm.
them.
Mhm.
They will have conversations where they'll switch between the different languages for different sentences or different things or different words because that's the best word they can think of to really describe what they mean. Now, English is thankfully a very broad language, but there's tons of different descriptive words. You can look up thesaurus stuff and you can really find, like, you know, you can have the subtle nuances between intelligence or smart or witty, you know,
Mhm.
but there's also limitations that come with that if you can be too specific, and so, or things that don't have it, like love. We have one word for love, even though it could be, platonic love. It can be, romantic love, it could be lust kind of love, or it can be
Mhm.
family bond love, all sorts of different things, which we just shove more words onto the sentence.
Mhm.
Mhm.
In
Right.
English, really. That's how we do it, is we just add on different things,
Yeah, we're
you
really
know?
talky in English. We're wordy.
Yeah. We're wordy, and
Yeah.
I think it's great, you know? But,
Omelette de
let me
fromage.
see, what's something I can describe? I guess I can try to describe Joe's background, you know?
Mm.
Where it's a deep and moody forest that's covered with dusk, and inside of it are luminescent tendrils that come up from the ground, reaching towards the blackened sky. I'm just adding odd adjectives onto the things to describe it, but
Mhm.
and there's much better things I could do about, like, the gills of the mushrooms and the way they might wave in the wind, you
Mm.
know, and the smaller ones can sway and bob. Or there's the moss that's
Mm.
cool to the touch, but yet spongy, you know? But, I find if you really want to try and get the abstract into concrete, and usually it'll go right back to abstract, just look up a thesaurus, your local thesaurus. Thesaurus.com, I think, is the one I usually
Mhm.
use.
Mm.
Um, let's see, thesaurus. If I can spell, which thankfully there's Google if you can't spell. Um,
Yes.
but I recommend that, for helping. But if it's thinking about it, it's really about understanding it more and asking questions. The human body, for instance, it's an incredible machine. You can think of it as that. You can think of it as an ecosystem. You can think of it, as a wide variety of wires and tendons. You know, it, it's, there's so many different things that are very complex about it. So you can describe all those different things. And you probably could describe so much of it that you still wouldn't have reached barely 1% of all of it,
Mm.
all of its complexities,
Mhm.
because of how complex it is, you
Mhm.
know? But I just would start with having things that you can relate.
Mm.
For instance, I use an hourglass because most people have seen an hourglass in a movie or it's been part of a game set. They
Mhm.
know the falling sand and they know the hourglass shape. It's very, many things are described by the hourglass shape, you know. But you could also go with, a bucket. Most people know what a bucket looks like, you know. and it's finding relatable things. It's a bucket full of water that pours out like a waterfall,
Mm.
cascading downwards. You know, if it's emotion, sometimes it rages like a fire, burning, crackling, flaring out and reaching out towards others. Or sometimes it's, you know, like a winter, a blizzard that's blowing all around, making you feel blind
Mm.
in the inside
Mhm.
and cold and probably in pain because cold is pain,
Mm.
especially for Ryan.
It, quite accurate.
You know, some will describe emotions like a hurricane because there's just so much going around. They feel blown back and forth between where they're at inside themselves, inside even how their emotional state is. It's just swirling,
Mhm.
perhaps like a tornado. People, natural disasters are great definitions for very strong emphasis.
Mhm.
But there's other things that are, strong emphasis too, like, man, I feel like my emotions are magnetized, and that also is very strong because it's very hard to pull apart magnets, right? When they're attracted, or it's really hard to push them together if they're repelling,
Mm. Mhm.
you know. So, why is your hourglass not digital? Poor Cla- because I'm old school like that. But anyways, I think that's really all that I have to add to that. Is it's hard to find the words when you need to look up words. I always go for thesaurus. You probably have some word in mind. It might be as simple as happy, sad, crazy, and then just see where it goes, and then look at the definitions and etymology, like Ryan mentioned, and you
Mhm.
know, if you want to really experience more of like what you're trying to describe, do what Joe said. Really experiencing what that is, so that you can think about it and digest it
Mm.
and really decide, how do I think that this experience relates to the world that I've experienced, and how can I describe that experience? What things are similar to it? What things are very different from it? Because you can describe something from a lack of as well, you
Mhm.
know? Like there's no wind, it's absolutely still,
Mm.
you know? And it might be like, anyway, that's what I would present as my stuff on describing the abstract.
Mm.
It's not going to do it justice, but you can get pretty close.
Mhm.
Well, maybe. But you can certainly try with a thesaurus in one hand and your brain on the other.
Mm.
Perhaps
Yes.
not literally. In
Right,
either
yes.
of those
Your brain
scenarios.
should be in your head. Is a good place for it, probably,
And a
right?
Mm-hmm.
thesaurus is
Mm-hmm.
probably online. I don't know how many people have a thesaurus in their homes. Some might, but
Saule does.
Totally
Saule
does.
has an analog
nice.
one, he says.
Analog thesaurus.
They call those books, but
Yes.
analog thesaurus it is.
Yes.
Oh my god, look. Anyway, I'll pass it back.
Awesome. Thank you, Princess, very much. That was
Mhm.
beautiful. Beautifully said. And I didn't even think of poetry, but you're so right
Yeah,
about how
poetry's a
poetry
great one.
works like that. It really does take like this whole world of, emotion, and it's really rich, and then it condenses it down into just a few words that are so rich in meaning, and then it once you experience it, it expands within you. That was a really, really great analogy.
Yeah, I've heard it said. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's a beautiful quote. I can't remember who pinned it, but poetry is when we want to say the ineffable. When we have things we can't say
Mm,
because there's no words for them. That's how we say them is poetry.
mm.
So that's a great, res- a great I don't know
Analogy?
statement.
Statement?
No, a great whatever answer to this question
Yes.
is poetry.
Yep. Absolutely. So, wow. So, Meow, thank you so much for that topic. That was awesome. Ryan, were you all set?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, and hopefully that was satisfactory. Hopefully we did your topic justice.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of gave us free license. You said, hey, take this in any direction you want. So we did. We took it.
Yeah.
We took it and went in multiple directions. And yeah, hopefully it was good. So anyway, thank you very, very much for the topic, Meow, and we will move on. Let's take a look. We have topics from. I had to reload the tab again. Shark Jelly, Toby, Saule, War Spite, Vanderwood, August, Kells Kitchen, Fredneck, and Kishin Slayer. And
Sorry.
oh, did we have another one that I forgot?
No, I don't think we've seen. Have we seen Frednick?
Yeah, Frednick was here earlier today.
Okay, I don't think I had seen their names. So
I
anyway,
haven't
sorry.
seen him. Well,
I
Saule's
was
still
speaking
here.
out loud when I was meant to be muted. So apologies.
Oh,
The background turned into the foreground.
oh yes, that's all right.
Control
All good. We love hearing your voice anyway, so it's totally cool.
That's true.
Cool. Well, Saule, we will go on to yours. This is a topic from back in April called "The Growth of a Robotic Personality." And yeah, let's take a look here. We will get it up on the screen here, and then if I can do that, actually, that'd be great. And then yeah, and then Princess can read it aloud whenever she is ready. Princess, take it away.
You've got to be true to yourself because no one else is going to make you. You've already had it construed in your head that you're already dead, waiting for the funeral.
Hmm.
I've recently been thinking back to high school, specifically 11th and 12th grades. Before that, I felt like I really didn't have a personality. I just dealt with my problems and kept to myself. I would talk to my friends, and there was and that but that was the sense of anything to it. I was living like a robot. One of my friends even gave me the nickname, the robot that died in the 60s, because that's how I was. That didn't bother me. How could it? There was no one to bother within me. But in the 11th grade, I met a girl. She was a ninth grader at the time, but we were in Spanish class together. I ended up really liking her, and I began to feel emotions, not just relating to her, but also in other parts of my life. I became a person, and not just a robot that went to class and took tests. She and I were friends. The relationship that I wanted was not on her radar. I kept feeling like I was not good enough. I'd see the flaws in myself and want to fix them. So I tried to improve myself. Every time I tried to change myself for the better, I felt that it made me worse. I met her in September, which started me down this path. And by November, I already felt like I was becoming a tremendous jerk. By December, I positively hated myself. That continued throughout the rest of high school and into the first few years of college. In that time, as early as October of 11th grade, I started praying a lot. I began to have somewhat of a faith life, and I was still sinking deeper and deeper into depression. But no longer am I down and out. No, my positive attitude is loud, and I'm better now. Now that I don't have any friends to hang out with in person, I feel like I'm much happier, which is weird. I miss my friends, but I've had time to deal with these selfish desires and actions that my friends would never point out to me. I've had time to grow on my own and develop myself on my own without trying to base my self improvement on what I think will be good for my friends. It's been a journey, and I feel like it's been far, and I have a feeling that it's far from over. But at least I'm about to start a new chapter as I become an adventurer and go forth to find my place in this world full of danger and pain. I know that I have to grow some more to stand up and chase a dream. So I guess what I'm saying is that growth is an interesting journey. I mean, I didn't have much of a personality before 11th grade, and now I don't think anyone would call me a robot. From Saule.
Nice.
Thank you, Saule. I really
Okay,
appreciate all of your the lyrics that
Yeah.
you put in there from our stuff. That's awesome. And man, was that from I'm Better Now? Was that from your song from off of your old channel, Ryan?
Yeah.
Were
Yeah,
those-
some of those were off of the old channel.
yeah. I mean, I haven't thought about growing forever, and I was like,
I thought about it
oh,
yesterday.
I know these words. I've heard them before. Oh, I wrote them.
Yeah,
Like-
nice.
So anyway, thank you very much, Saule. This
Mega
is a
ego. Jeez, yep.
what's that?
Yep. Mega ego.
Mega ego. Yes, that was
Yep.
it. Right on. Um, Thank you for the topic, Sully. Wow, this is there's a lot going on in here. And you're right. The process of growth is unending.
Hmm.
You know, we are always growing in some kind of a direction. You know, we're growing better or worse. Sometimes for better or worse. Um, and it's how things are, you know. It's quite amazing. So I'm gonna do the best thing I can do. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say to get you started, Ryan. So I'm gonna just turn it over to you and let you let you take it. So
All right. Good luck, me.
yeah, good luck,
Thanks so
Ryan.
much for this
You're amazing. I know.
topic.
I believe in you.
Thanks.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. You're the best. um, yeah, Sally, this is great. This, there's a lot that you said that made me think of about a lot of different things. I like how, I mean, isn't it interesting how sometimes in life you, I mean, I've been through feeling like a robot and being expressive as a robot and thinking like a robot phase. Um, and then kind of getting kicked out of it because maybe you meet someone that interests you or you find something, and usually it has to do with connecting with people, but you find something and it's really fun, and then you relate to that to other people, and then you find a group of people, and suddenly you kind of come out of your shelf because you have this thing you're excited about. um all sorts of different things. But I think it's funny that you meet this girl and then you like, oh, I'm such a, you know, I'm not good enough for her. I'm gonna try to get better. And the
Mm.
more you try, like you notice the worse you are. Um, I mean, that's so comically common.
Mm-hmm.
Comically common. If I'm gonna go with that, go with there. Um, I mean that happens. That happens. I think part of it too is like when you try to get better for the wrong reasons, you tend to get worse. When you try to be an impressive person, you tend to be less impressive. Um, but I like that, when you got away from it all, um, and there wasn't anybody to impress, um, you started to really grow in that environment. And I think that that says a lot of beautiful things, and it teaches us a lot, um, and shows us that, as I said before, when you try to grow to impress, I think a lot of times you end up just outing yourself as the most selfish jerk. Um, so yeah, and life is a beautiful journey, and oh my gosh, we're not even close. None of us are, and it's such a great thing. I mean, it's hard to see it when you're in it. It's so hard to see it when you're in it. You know, you live your whole life experiencing what you're experiencing at the moment most of the time, right? Well, all the time, because even when you're not experiencing what you're experiencing at the moment, you're experiencing something from the past, and the only reason you're experiencing it is because you're currently at the moment thinking about it. So, yeah, um, we're so incapable of grasping the full nature of ourselves in the past and in the future, and able to just love what it is.
Mm.
And obviously not everybody here is Christian or Catholic, but one of the things that I love um, about God is that He doesn't love us for our potential of what we could become. He doesn't love us. He doesn't love us, but better. He's not waiting for us to be better. He can see all of it at once, and He loves you. And I think that that's amazing. And I wish that we could all kind of have that perspective on each other, where instead of looking at the person and going, yeah, that person, I feel like I could love them or get along with them or whatever if they were a little bit better. And especially towards ourselves. I think a lot of us in our lives, we go through our lives thinking, oh, no one would love me. No one, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for that person. I'm not good enough for other people to compliment me. I'm not good enough. No one could ever love me. Like if they knew what I did, if they knew who I really was, things like that. We all tell ourselves stupid things like that. And the counter to that is just so beautiful, because it's not about it's not about like, oh, maybe they could love me if I was better, right? The me but better, like, self-diagnosis is so wrong, right? I love that the answer to that is just, yeah, but how about I love you regardless? I love you even though like you might get worse,
Hmm.
you know? It's not about um it's not about how good we can be. We live each moment experiencing what we can, and we are as good in that moment as we can be. Hopefully. Most of the time we're not, but we should be. We should be striving for that. Um, but what we find, I think, is that the more we live in the moment choosing to be good, the more good we're capable of in the future. Because good begets good and evil begets evil. We see that in the world, right? Um, so I don't know. I just really love all of this that you talked about, because I think that everyone can relate to this in some degree or another. We're all on this journey, and we're not all always getting better. Sometimes we're getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
But the beautiful thing is, even when it gets worse, it's not all for naught. Even when it gets worse, sometimes that's a sign of it getting better. Sometimes we have to go through what's worse. Sometimes we have to get worse to become better. Sometimes you have to break something more to fix it. I think that's true a lot of times. I
Mm.
mean,
It reminds me of my closet as a kid. Forgive me for
yeah.
interjecting, I'll pass it back to you. But just like, you
Yeah.
know, that my room was messy, right? Because 'Cause I'm a kid.
Mhm.
I don't wanna clean my
Mhm.
room,
Mm.
but often what it took to clean my room was to clear everything out of the closet and make my room an even bigger mess before I could
Yep.
actually clean up the mess and then put everything back in the closet. Well,
Yes.
the stuff that belonged there, and then I had to filter out the stuff that I needed to get rid of, you know? But
Mhm.
sometimes it really is that way of, you just you do stuff and then it has to get messier or it has to get worse and, people are gonna try and yell at you more for your room being messy, like, "You made it messier." It's like, "Yeah, but I have to do that if I wanna get it clean."
Yep.
So,
Yep.
anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so true. Or like when you break something in a car or something, the mechanic has to, in order to fix it, they have to take it apart more to get down to, so they have to break it more so that it works even less before they can truly fix the root. And I think that's a small, small speck in the beautiful story that is our life, our, and in some cases, and in many religions, our never-ending life. Um, so I think that I don't know. I just think that this is beautiful, and thank you for sharing. And yeah, we have a lot more to grow. We all do.
Mm.
I mean, I look at myself and I'm like, wow, oh my gosh, am I capable of so much good? But I have not been.
Mm.
you know, and I look at myself and I recognize in everyone around me the potential for such greatness and the potential for such goodness and beauty and blessing and the room for such great virtues and courage, and it's incredible. But here's the thing, like, it's incredible that we're capable of this, but even if they never reach it, I love them. And I recognize that that's true for me too. Even though I can't reach it, or maybe I will, you know. Even though I'm not there yet. My gosh, do I love me? And that's hard to say. But you can't say that. You can't say that. No one can say that unless they recognize that we can love without potential. Because it's not potential that makes us beautiful. It's not our good deeds or our past that makes us worth anything. I mean, I don't know, you go through life thinking that you're not good enough. The only way to break that is to recognize that that's a lie. It's a lie. Someone's told you that lie. You probably told yourself that lie. The devil slipped in there and he told you that lie. And that lie has been driving so many people down the wrong road, thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, so why do I even try? I don't try anymore. A stupid lie. But yeah, I think, man, if people don't understand. I don't understand because I can't fathom it. So I know that people don't understand, but people aren't even close to understanding how incredible their life is, how much difference they're making with each and every single day they get up, how much they're changing and shaping the world around, not just themselves, but even for generations to come. You know, it's incredible. There's so much that goes on beyond what we can ever see. And I'm just so thankful. And it's hard to be thankful for your own life because sometimes you kind of just want to go, well, I wish I was never born because this is a mess. This is awful. This is annoying. You know, like, oh, life is suffering. And that's true. You know, it's so many people's mottos. Life is suffering. It's like, yeah, isn't it though? I love it. Um, I don't know. It's incredible. It's incredible. There's just so much beauty. And the fact that life is a journey and we can grow. Life is a journey and we can get worse. But life is loved regardless of both. And we just hope we can do the best and most good we can. And we're all capable of more than we ever understand. It's just so cool. Anyways, I love it. Thank you. Sorry for gushing. Anyways, I'm going to go give it over to Joe and let him talk.
Just like that. Give it to Joe.
Yeah.
Right on. That was awesome. I love what you had said. I love what Princess said about the closet. I love
Yeah.
Saule, what you were talking about in being like a robot. And what Ryan was talking about sometimes you have to break things to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And I related to every bit of it. I got called a machine before at martial arts during the fitness tests because they were just like, I didn't slow down. Most, like they would say, okay, you got to do push-ups. You had to do 30 push-ups, right? Then 50 sit-ups, and then a whole bunch of kick combinations, punch kick combinations, right? All within a 5-minute time period. And by the time I was doing fitness tests for martial arts, I had got myself in a decent amount of shape. And so I did not slow down at all on the push-ups or the sit-ups. Like it was just like, and they just, like the instructor was just like, Joe, like, or well, he said Mr. Anderson because that's what they called me. They never called me Joe. They're like, you're a machine. And the funny thing is I thought about that and I was like, I kind of was that way. Not just there, but I was that way in my work life as well, in my inspections business. I was an absolute, like I would just go.
Yep.
And drive. And I was like that to the best of my ability in my family. If I saw something that I knew needed to be done that was right, that I saw was right, I would do it. And the whole time, all that drive, all that machinism.
Mechanism. No.
Machinism.
Machinism.
Yes, machine.
Mechanism is a thing. It's a machine. Machinism is the right word. We're going to go with it.
With all of that stuff, I was burying my humanness. Now I still had friends. I still was able to have relationships. Still was able to have friendships and all that kind of stuff, right? But everything was just getting shoved down and down and down, much like Princess's closet. Years and years and years of just emotional baggage, and rightful emotional baggage, right? Stuff that should have been expressed for all those years, just getting buried and buried and buried and just shoved down, shoved down, shoved down. And eventually what happens is your closet explodes, right? Or you got to break it to make it better, right? And so then you end up in therapy. But it's interesting because in all those aspects of what you talked about in your topic, Saleh, what Princess talked about, what Ryan talked about, I was like picking parts of my own individual story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was glad to be off camera. Because I'm like, holy cow. And how am I going to relate this? I'm not going to tell you guys everything that's going on. It's crazy. We'd be here for years, but that's the picture. You got to break it to make it better sometimes. And that's kind of what my therapist has told me as well. Like, okay, this is something that's been going on for years. We have to dig into some crazy stuff. And it's going to be hard. And I'm like, okay. And it is. It's all right.
Because it leads to growth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And anyway, so I don't want to go too much into that because then I'll be a mess and I'll start crying and all kinds of stuff. But Akil in the chat, Akil, it's great to see you. Oh my gosh,
I know, right? I was
long
so
time.
excited to
You're
see you.
awesome, Akil. I love what you said. While the pursuit is becoming better is a good idea, doing it for someone else meant in the end, it might not be your joy too. That can be very, very true. Now, it's noble to sacrifice for someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's noble to serve. Those are good things. But there are limits. When you completely change who you are to suit the whims of another person, that's not necessarily healthy. So be careful. This is all growth, right? And if you find yourself, in that realm of, where you don't feel like yourself is going to be satisfactory to another person, then perhaps that person isn't the right person for you to be with. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much farther I want to go. I think Princess said she had some stuff she wanted to say. Princess, did
I
you?
do, because I see one of the overarching things about growth, which, Sully's shared their story, Joe, you've shared your story, is kind of goals,
Mm.
and often if you don't have a particular goal that you're really pursuing, at least that's what I've seen through my experiences, is that you turn into a robot, where you're kind of like a porcelain doll on the shelf. You're there, you do what's asked, you do nothing else. You might do little things here or there because but it often feels like that's all you're doing is you're not growing because you're not walking towards a goal. You're walking towards other people's goals, which aren't necessarily a bad thing. At times they can be very helpful, like, going through school. your teachers want you to perform well in your classes. So, you do your homework, you turn it in. If you don't have a goal you're pursuing, sometimes that's a helpful goal place to go to walk towards that. But it doesn't necessarily grow you into having your personality, you understanding yourself. You're doing what is being asked of you, but you're
Mm.
not really applying yourself to other things and learning and growing in that way. Or at least that's kind of my thoughts on it, my experience.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very well
You
said.
know, and so that's why when I was really struck by the fact that I heard the words of, you ended up liking her and you began to feel emotions, not just related to her, but in other parts of your life.
Mm-hmm.
By opening up that door of, oh, I can have goals, I can pursue things. It didn't just color her, but colored the whole world around you as possibilities. And there was another person that I knew that I met from some online game that was like, you know, we ended up starting to hang out because, the world around us was collapsing apocalyptic style. So, woohoo! Anyways, we were just hanging out in some small corner of nowhere. And, you know, he, he had began to be like, since I've met you, I've kind of had more awareness of others, what they're experiencing and that sort of like empathy aspect because they've had that experience where, they and I have gotten to know each other. And through them, appreciating my existence for lack of better terms. But, they really, appreciated that and they began to appreciate other people's existences too and being aware of the way that they act and, such. So it's really interesting to see that eye-opening experience that other people have when they have that connection that gets built. When they notice the importance of that connection, and then they grow in that connection.
Mm.
In the case of my friend, that was, awareness of other people's, their emotions, kind of where their thoughts are at. For Saole, it seems like it was understanding self emotions, self awareness, you know, understanding other things and relating it to self and growing into understanding who you are and how you want to be versus just doing what people ask of you and doing, what you think is supposed to be right. You're doing what you have come to believe is right, what you've come to think, based on what I've seen and, what I think this is right, you know, so, um, I see August says, "I really like that comparison. I definitely feel like a porcelain doll at times to get through hard or tiring times."
Mm. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Been
And
there.
that's
Done that.
oh, yeah, totally been there, where and some of that is because you're removing yourself from the situation. You're putting distance between you and the difficulties. For some reason, the word enmity is what's coming to mind between you and your troubles, you know? And it's good to have a certain amount of distance because again, you aren't your problems, you aren't your troubles, you aren't what happens, you aren't what you do. Now you are related to what you do, and what you do is your responsibility, but you are not your actions. You are not your ideals. I'm sure I've said that before, And so sometimes it's good to have that distance between what's going on and who you are, but at times it can also feel like you are no longer in connection with who you are, and you need to know how to get back that connection to drop in with yourself and be like, "Hey, I'm me. This is my body. I can feel my fingers. I can feel my head. I can feel my ears. I can hear what I'm hearing, whether that's, the drop of water or the sound of keyboard clicks or whatever,
Or the pain of cold.
the pain of cold,
I'm
of
sorry, I'm
course."
just experiencing that at this moment, so it's what I think about.
Mm.
Yeah, you know? So I really liked seeing that. And I think that growth is related to finding goals that you want to pursue. And of course, you have to be careful because what goals you set, like if you're doing this, if you're reasoning and your goal is, hey, I'm going to improve and it's for this other person, then it becomes, I'm going to improve in ways I think this other person wants it, rather than I'm going to improve, you know? And the other person might be a sensitive of, hey, I want to improve, and this person is in my life. I want to improve for them, but I also want to improve for myself, you know, and not losing sight of what that improvement is
Mm.
because of where your goal is at, you know. And I'm not the greatest at setting goals. I remember sitting in, like, my 4th or 5th grade classroom, just, like, the teacher had, like, a sheet of paper you're supposed to fill out with all the different things of, like, "What do you like to do?" And or I think it was, like, for school academics of, like, "What are you doing well in? What do you wanna improve in? And then what are your goals, and how are you going to achieve them?" And I was like, "God, that's the worst possible question you could ask. I can't set goals. What do you want from me?" Goal setting? You
What are
know?
your goals? Being able to set goals. Thanks.
How are you going to achieve that was the other part of that of, like, I will achieve goals. I'm going to learn how to achieve goals. How are you going to do that? I don't know.
I love
Which, of
that.
course, gotta
So
sit down with the
honest.
teacher and being like, "Okay, okay, we need to sit down, princess, and, figure out what are your goals? You need 3 of them." And I'm like, "God, 3 goals? You've gotta be kidding me."
Yeah, that wouldn't jive well with me and my personality anyways, so it's understandable.
I have a goal to eat lunch.
Yeah.
I have
I
a
have a goal
goal
to
to
make it to the
pass my
bathroom on
class.
time when I have to go to the bathroom.
Ooh, that would've been a great
Uh-huh.
goal. That would've been a great goal. Man, I wish I was that witty. I get some goody two shoes for that. But, but it was hard because it was like, I'm going to do well in my class by doing my homework and doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know? But it was largely because the space I was in my home life and at that time wasn't about me thriving as a person, learning who I am and goals and, what did I want to do? It was there is stuff that needs to get done. There are people that need to be taken care of, and I need to be out of the way.
Mm,
you know?
Mm.
mhm,
And in that setting, goal setting was not really where my life was at, right? I was in a place where I couldn't express myself. And so I was stuck in that porcelain doll state of what I'm doing is what other people are telling me to do because that's what I'm allowed to do. And anything outside of that generally gets everything in trouble and makes things very difficult life wise. So it's better for me to just stay back, be the porcelain doll on the shelf, look pretty, get everything done, and then just be there sitting there smiling like this the whole time. Really tiring, because then you can't really be anything else but this, you know? But eventually it came to, being able to have that freedom, being like, "Okay, well, I can still do all the things I'm supposed to do, but I also can be like, well, I like science. I'm a scientist now, which is
mm,
great." And so
mhm.
I'm getting all excited, like, today I was, you know, taking a sit down and being like, what do I want to do next? Like, what are my goals? What am I going and how am I going to get there? And like, because I had a step that I wanted to take, in that process of possibly going back to school for more schooling, you know? So I was like, okay. And then of course, they have the sit down thing because wherever you go, there's always going to be paperwork of, okay, well, what are you pursuing? Why are you pursuing it? Why does it help? Where are you going with your career? And it was like, okay, well, let's sit down and actually think about this rather than just, putting in generic, like, let's think about this. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll go looking at like the job postings at my particular job place, and I was looking, scrolling through and being like, oh, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, cool. Then I'll go actually read the description of the job. But going through that, I actually found something that I was like, "Oh my gosh, this actually sounds really cool. This is something I'd wanna work towards." Probably not for right now. I wanna do what I'm doing now. Then I'll move into doing more of what I'm doing now, but in a higher level to understand it better. And then I'll probably go to this because it'll be a different area that still uses what I've learned, but I'll have all that experience that'll help me for that. And so I got all excited like a little child with like it's Halloween and I'm getting toothbrush and toothpaste because
Mm.
I'm that weirdo kid that liked the toothbrush and the toothpaste first. And then the candy. I like candy. But I was always like, I was stoked for the toothbrush and toothpaste person, which I'm sure was just a local dentist that lived in the area. But, that
Right.
was always my first stop. Is I was like, hi, I'm here. See, my bucket's empty. But I came here first to make sure I'd have my toothbrush and my toothpaste so that when I eat my candy later, I could brush my teeth afterwards.
You explain all of it to the dentist, and he's like, "Yep."
Yep, and here you go. Pick your color. Anyways, it's just thinking of goals and growth and all of that has been just That's what I kind of thought of when I saw this was, growing from, I don't really know what I wanna do, I like doing science, or I just do what I'm told to do, I just do well on stuff to, "Hey, this is actually kinda cool," or, "Hey, I didn't know this was out there, and now that I know it's out there, man, I wanna keep looking for things I can do in that area." Like, what are the opportunities? Who do I need to reach out to see if this possibility works, or if this is a now thing, or is this a later thing, or is the middle step I even had, like, still in that process? And if so, do I need something else in that process? And just uh, the exciting things about
Hmm. Hmm.
growing in life, I guess. That's where I'll end it is, it's awesome that you've grown, and we all grow in different ways, in different areas, and in different aspects. Some of it's knowledge, some of it's emotions, some of it's, willpower, and some of it is understanding like theology and, beliefs, and, but it's good to have growth. And sometimes it's messy. Sometimes everything falls apart. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before you can get your way back up. But
Hmm.
the good news is that you can always there's always room for growth.
Mm,
Even when a wildfire wipes out a whole plain, You know, there's still seeds that are left in the ground that'll regrow back later, or
mhm.
seeds that'll be blown in from the wind and they will grow too, you know? So, anyways, I will turn it back to you guys because I've
And
rambled far long enough.
some plants can't grow unless a wildfire happens.
True.
That's true. Yep, jack pines
Mhm.
are like that.
Yeah.
My brother's a forester. Yeah, he knew that. Thank you,
Nice.
Princess. That was great perspective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, who's next? Ryan, did you have anything else
Yeah.
to say?
No, we're good. We're good.
Awesome. Thank you, Saule, for the topic. Hopefully, some of that was informative and helpful. I mean, seriously, a lot of deep things you can think about. When you're thinking about goals, you're thinking about your life, you're thinking about all that stuff, right? Experiencing emotions, like connecting with people. There's so much in this topic, and it was awesome. So,
Hmm.
yep.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, thank you guys for being here. It's been a great show. I've been having a good time. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourselves. And as
Hmm.
always, I hope what we've had to say has been helpful and can help you along your journey toward growth and getting past whatever might be hanging you up. So you guys are awesome. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your support. We could not do this show without you. I mean, we could, but like it'd just be us talking,
I guess wouldn't be
like
making any
we
impact or anything.
kind of do that sometimes
Wouldn't be
anyway, like me
talking to
and
anybody but ourselves.
we have
Which, yeah, we do talk from time to
conversations
time.
sometimes, from time to
Yeah, but to
time.
talk with a format would be interesting. Like, hey,
Yeah.
let's have a conversation. Oh yeah, what's the format for the conversation today? Well, here are the topics. I'll go first, then you go. We both have about 15 minutes each, and we're gonna have a regular conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's not how it
Wasn't that
works.
Free for All Fridays? We kind of did that for Free for All Fridays for a little while,
Yeah,
didn't we?
yeah.
Where we had topics and all that stuff. Yep. That was kind of fun. But anyway, oh, and Saule mentioned the 3-step process. Do the 3-step
Yes, saw
process.
that.
Try it.
I
Try
thought
it.
about it like 2 or 3 times during the course of this, because when I was suggesting to Ash to to figure out what she's thankful for, to focus on some thankful things
Mm-hmm.
every day. I was like, yeah, 3-step process would do that.
Yep. What are you thankful for? What are you looking forward to? What are you going to do today to move in that direction? That's the 3-step process. And in fact, I think of 3 things. My 3-step process is 3 things in each category.
Hmm.
So you can do that. That was the original one that I learned about was 3 things. And then we were like, hey, you know what? Let's just boil it down to 1 because then we can focus. Right.
Hmm.
And then I was like, but
Yeah.
I still do 3 in my
Oh,
personal
nice.
3-step process.
Hmm.
But anyway, you guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week, except probably I won't be here unless the game gets rained out. But yeah, then you'll have whoever,
Likely Kyle. But
likely
could be
Kyle,
Joe.
could be Joe.
Could be other Joe.
Yep, that's right. No,
Mhm.
that's OG Joe.
OG Joe.
Yep.
Yep, you're
We
right. You're
talked
right.
about this. He's not other
Yes, he's the
Joe.
OG Joe.
He's OG Joe. I'm dyslexic Jack.
That's right. You're dyslexic Jack.
Right.
Ah,
Yes.
man. Forgot about that. I need to introduce you more as dyslexic Jack.
Dyslexic Jack, man. But anyway, thank you guys again. And we'll see you next time right here on Don't Worry Wednesday. Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful life. And we will catch you soon. Take care, you guys. Love you.
Love y'all. Bye-bye. Peace.